What's up everyone, it's Jeremy. If you enjoy my content, please make sure you hit the subscribe button and the bell so you don't miss out. Appreciate y'all.
Josh got me to pull the trigger on buying my first bike. It's a 2003 Harley-Davidson Sportster 1200 Blue Chrome 100th anniversary. Any chance you can bless it with a name? Blue and Chrome, baby.
Blue and Chrome. That's something like close to the Green Goblin almost, but it's
in
blue.
The sky. It's in the sky. All right. So high in the sky, blue and chrome. How can we name this fucking bike? Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, the Sportster. That's its entire name.
Yeah.
Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds.
You can name it something like some Greek god or some shit.
Yep. Never just Lucy. You got to say the whole ass thing. Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. All right. There, you got it. I don't care if you like it or not, but there it is. It exists.
Yeah. You asked, and there you had it.
Baby, you ask and you shall receive.
Alright boys, here she is. Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds is a 2003 Sportster 1200 Custom. I got it from my buddy Tom, who was looking to sell off this bike in order to drop a new engine in his Corvette, and his old lady basically told him, you can only do one, bike or the engine, and he chose the engine, so lucked out for me. It was brokered between my buddy Leon. He knew I was looking for a bike, he knew Tom was selling a bike, he got us both together, and we made it happen. So this is my first bike that I ever purchased, the first bike I ever learned to ride on, the first bike I ever dropped, the first bike I've done pretty much everything on. This old girl has been there for everything. So if you're wondering how Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds here got her name, I'd have to take you back a few years to what led me to my decision to purchase a very efficient machine at turning gasoline into loud noise. Basically, I come from a family of bikers. My pup, he used to race them over in New Jersey at Echo Speedway, along with my great uncle Art. My dad owned one before I was born, and I've had various cousins, aunts, uncles, everybody else within the community who all ride or have ridden at one point, along with several friends. So pretty much most of my life, I was never in a position to really own a motorcycle, whether it was where I lived at the time, how much money I was making at the time, or just general interest for what I was into at the time. But eventually it kind of hit me, when I got to a certain point in my life, I now have an actual garage that I could fit vehicles in, I own my own home, so why not get my midlife crisis? And that's where we are. When we got Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds home, Jason and I pretty much did a once over on the bike just to make sure that there was no glaring issues or anything that needs to be addressed. We changed the oil and the typical stuff you would do with an older bike. One thing I will say is Tom took immaculate care of this bike when he had it, so I wasn't too worried about too many issues being wrong with the actual motorcycle, but it didn't hurt to take a look nonetheless. Now one thing that kind of didn't really make a whole lot of sense to me is the pipe that was put on this one. I don't know if Tom did that or if the original owner did that, or hell, if even the dealership did it when they got the bike in for the trade-in, but if you notice, I got forward controls here, and this pipe obviously swings out enough to be able to clear that. However, it does not let me put an engine guard on there, at least not the mustache ones that are easy enough to find. What I would like to do is put a flat out bar on there, similar to how I have it on my Lowrider S, but I haven't really found too many places at all for anything that's, close to being like what I have on the Lowrider. Now, while it's not the stock pipe that comes with the bike, it does what it needs to do, so no real complaints there. But we did have to make some adjustments to other parts of the motorcycle to pretty much make it my own and make it comfortable for me to ride. Now, the first thing we did is we changed out the grips, the clutch lever, and also the brake lever too. I went with the Kuryakins, and I guess this is pretty much Chinesium. It's whatever cheap levers there were on Amazon to replace with. And with the Kuryakin grips, I also got the Throttle Boss too. Since there is no cruise control on an old motorcycle like this, it's probably about the next closest thing. If you ever get tired of holding on, just use your palm and keep her at speed. And if you're wondering why I changed out the grips and the levers, it's because of these sons of bitches right here. I guess everybody kind of was going by the same thought process of flames make everything go faster. But I'll tell you one thing, this right here was a bitch to pull in. It was heavy as hell and just uncomfortable to grab. And these are pretty much, as you can see, disintegrating. These weren't long for this world, unfortunately, so these had to go. But I'm glad I made that switch, because these were awful. Now the next thing I did too is I replaced the headlamp with a new LED one, because the original, I mean, that was about as productive as riding with a candle on the front end. That halogen really didn't light up much of anything. And I also wanted to relocate the turn signals so that they're on the post there instead of actually on the handlebars. After getting the front end done, we moved to the back end of the bike and replaced the bags. The bags that were on it originally were integrated with the turn signal. They were kind of just like a hard plastic, not a big fan of them. So I changed them out for the Viking bags that you see here. Now changing the bags also meant I had to change out the tail light too, and I opted to go with one by Eagle Lights that I've covered before in previous videos. It's an integrated turn signal and brake light all in one. It's smoked out too, which is illegal in Delaware because Lord knows everything's illegal in this state. But it works when it wants to. Right now the left blinker's not working. I got the parts for it, I'm gonna fix it. But just if you're gonna fool with these old bikes with newer parts, it is such a pain in the ass. But either way, I mean, it's nice, it's brighter, it's supposed to be safer, but that was one of the last replacements we did on this bike. So after making those adjustments to the bike, it was finally comfortable for somebody my height and my size to ride. I think the only thing really I would do differently, and this might be for a future video depending on how bored I get and how much expendable income I have, but I think I'd want to change out the drag bars for maybe even the stock bars or something that's a T-bar or maybe mini apes or something that's a little bit more comfortable. I've noticed when you want to turn this top heavy son of a bitch around, you really doesn't like to maneuver as much with those drag bars. She doesn't turn as easy as she probably should. If I had a little bit more leverage there to get her to tilt. With that said, funny story on how I dropped her. Tom told me specifically the one way I was going to drop her, and that was going to be trying to make a sharp right or left hand turn from a stop. Because of how top heavy this thing is, it's like sitting on a very slow rocket. And that's exactly what I did. I was at a stop sign, I was doing a fucking 45-degree angle turn. Wasn't paying attention to how leaned over I was with it, and at that point I got to the point of no return and she just kind of tipped over. So if you have a Sportster, let me know in the comments if that same thing's happened to you. I didn't damage anything, but still, at least I got the first drop out of the way on my first ride taking her out, so can't complain too much about that. And with all that said, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds has been an amazing first bike. I can't say enough great things about her. I've beaten the piss out of her for the past 5 years, ridden her thousands of miles all over the tri-state area, and never really had any major issues. I mean, short of like simple stuff like maybe a slow leak in the tire and having to get that fixed and repaired, or you know, just general maintenance stuff. She really doesn't give me any problems, still continues to start up basically the first time every time, and has been, like I said, an amazing first bike. Now there was one time where unfortunately my shifter gave out on me. So I had to get a clutch adjustment and I had to get the shifter repaired, which also led to apparently the jugs were not put in correctly in the motor. I don't know when that was done. I don't know if that was done with the initial manufacturing of the bike or if that was done after it hit the dealership or Tom or wherever. But I had to pretty much get an entire top end rebuild. Let me tell you, that was a whole lot of fun. So quick little story. I was gonna go out and go for a ride with Jason. I went to go put the bike into first gear and couldn't because my shifter just died. It just wouldn't do anything. Now to this day, if you hit down on it, it never has a positive click. I can just infinitely hit down on there and go in the first innumerable amount of times. Now, we were unable to get this piece off here because some of those bolts have rusted. And I mean, with that being kind of soft metal, I didn't trust trying to remove that off, so we had to take it to the professionals. Now, upon doing so, they adjusted the clutch, they adjusted the shifter, and they also found out issues with the engine. So basically, it resulted in a top-end rebuild. Now, at that point, I had gotten it back before our trip down to Tennessee, and then trying to get her back home, I think it was a week before we left, this decided to give up the ghost on the way home on Route 9. For those local that know where that is, it's a kind of popular road for motorcyclists, mostly because there's nobody on it and it's nice back roads. But she shit the bed on me, and I got left high and dry by the dealership that did the work, even though they basically swore to me that they test rode it, everything was fine, everything was fixed up and good to go, but that was not the case. I did end up getting a hold of their CFO and getting it resolved. It took 9 months to get this shit squared away and fixed, and even then I'm still not 100% sure that it's entirely fixed, but I can't really pull her apart to check. But so far so good. Like I said, she starts up first time every time, no real issues. But yeah, eventually I had to have them pick the bike up, take it back to the dealership for them to do the repairs they said they did on it. And by the time I was able to get her back, it was about 9 months from start to finish, from the initial issue, trailering it down to the dealership, and then actually getting it back. And by the time I did get her back, it was post-accident, so I was in a cast. I couldn't even ride this back. I had to get Jason to ride her back. And finally, it was fixed. So while my other bike was in the hospital, I was back to riding this as my main bike for the most part. So now, how did Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds get her name? So originally, when I was looking at getting a motorcycle, I do a lot of research on anything that I do. I was looking at videos because I couldn't get my head around how shifting worked on a motorcycle. Like, I understand how it works in a car, but the whole down once, up a bunch of times, all that kind of stuff, like my brain just wasn't getting it at the time. So I started doing research on YouTube, and I was watching folks like early Moto Jitsu and Shadetree Surgeon. He also came up, and I think early Blockhead might have been on there as well too, but honestly I don't remember. But the Moto Jitsu and the Shadetree Surgeon ones, those were the big ones. I thought it was so cool just watching Shadetree kind of ride around and just talk about life and anything in between. And it was neat to just kind of see the sights. Like, even if I wasn't listening to anything they were saying, I used to live in Florida, so it was kind of cool to see things maybe I hadn't seen before, or relive areas maybe I hadn't been to in decades. So with that said, I've been following the channel for quite a while. Been, I guess, an early fan of his since before he pretty much made it big. Going back to the Waldecorn, just to give you an idea of like how long I've been watching that channel. And we were just hanging out in the chat during a live stream for his birthday one day, and I asked him to christen my bike, you know, and name my bike. He's always got some pretty funny and witty names for the motorcycles that he owns, and thought it'd be kind of cool to just have him christen my first bike. And that's all it was. That's how she got the name Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. So, Shadetree, appreciate you, buddy. Keep doing what you're doing, and thanks for being an inspiration for me to finally start the moto vlog and to hopefully create content that maybe we'll have a mutual audience for, or just anybody that likes motorcycling or even motorcycle travel adjacent content would hopefully can appreciate and enjoy that for what I'm able to put out there. So with that said, everyone, I hope you enjoyed the little bit of a history lesson about my first motorcycle. And let me know in the comments about your stories and, you know, your first motorcycle and the trials and tribulations you had with keeping it up and running or buying it or anything in between. And drop a like, you know, subscribe, do all that kind of fun stuff as well. And I will see you guys in another video. Peace.